Well, hello everyone, and welcome to my first live with an interview. And yes, hello everyone. So please welcome my first guest ever on my channel, Jeff from PTS for Live. There we are.
Hello.
Hello there. How
Good
are you?
evening. I'm good.
Excellent. Great. So before we begin, let's welcome a few people who have already written something in the chat. So
Oh,
here we have something from your wonderful wife.
yep.
Fun boys. We most certainly will. We've got LA in Toronto. Looking forward to this.
Hi, Leanne.
Well,
Hello.
hope we won't disappoint. Mike G503. Good morning. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, as the time of day applies. Where I am right now, it is actually evening. Right. Okay. Well, I'm right. Here we are. Hello, Jeff. So
Hi.
the reason why I wanted to have Jeff on my chat is because actually it was through his channel where I basically came out publicly that I am an ex-Scientologist, ex-SEAL member, and all of that. And that's all sort of tumbled in me becoming a YouTuber now and doing this lot here. And so this is almost like a full circle now, having him now on my channel and him grilling him and asking him questions. So
Sure sounds like you're blaming me for your current situation, Samuel.
no, I'm not. I'm certainly not. I'm very, very happy I'm in this situation. I'm very grateful, actually, that all of that happened, even with this connection that has happened in my family, because I knew that was going to happen eventually. I wanted to talk out already for years, but my stepmother, I talked about that with my stepmother, and she advised against it. She really told me, please don't do this, because she knows how Scientology can be, oaths and so on and so forth. And from her own experience, not in Scientology, but she grew up in communist China in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And she knows how it is to be constantly under watch. And you always have to watch what you say. You cannot ever say anything bad about the leader and on all of that. And severe consequences will happen. And that's why she told me, I really don't do this. But now, eventually, then last year in 2023, I decided, no, I wanted to do that. And I wrote to 3 or 4 different channels. I said, look, briefly, I said, this is who I am. This is my story. I would love to talk about it. And then you answered me within like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
I mean, you were really, really quick. And then we set something up, pretty quickly after that. And then, well, and the rest is history. And now we're here, darlings.
And I'm honored to be here with you, Samuel. You are a dear friend, and I mean that at the bottom of my heart. And I am so
Yeah.
happy that you are moving on and that you are out.
Yes, thank you. And you are a dear friend to me too, which is saying something from a Swiss person from the bottom of my bottom. So thank you very much.
Awesome.
All right. So I wanted to chat to you about the protest that you've been doing. You started off with the IS event protest in England, and that was, I believe, your first protest, right?
Yeah. It wasn't my first protest ever, but it was my
Oh,
first
okay.
protest against Scientology. Because
Right.
when I was very young, I used to be dragged along to protests against psychiatry because my dad was in
Right. Of
CCHR, which
course.
is the anti-psychiatry wing. So
Yeah.
I took all that early learning and I used it to flip the script on Scientology.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So that was your first Scientology protest. And then after that, you've done other protests. So I'm asking you also from an ex-Scientologist who grew up in Scientology. I mean, the very thought of going in front of an orc, I mean, I can feel my pulse, it's a scary thought. And I did think about going to England to the IS event protest to do this maybe, but I don't know if I don't know how I would have reacted, because there were certain confrontations that you guys had with security, and I knew these people. I knew them by name, right?
Yeah.
Like they would have recognized me, except the only difference is that instead of hair up here, I have now hair down here. But apart from that, I look the same, so they would have recognized me, I'm sure. And I don't know what they would have said to me. They would have, ugh, I have no idea. So I'm asking you, how was that for you? How was that for you to come to England and to do this protest? Did you, did Alex from Apostate Alex, did he write to you and you said, all right, sure, I'll come? Or, was it like a back and forth? Did you say no and then you said yes? And then what was the whole process behind that?
Well, that was actually pretty organic. Alex and I were doing a live, and we were discussing the protest. And I very completely and utterly jokingly said, "Hey, if anyone wants to fly me to England, I will do the protest with you." And
Mm-hmm.
sure enough, that like within an hour, I think, after, I had a very, very generous person offer to fly me to England, and
Wow.
that's how it happened. And I thought, well, I
Wow.
mean, I'm a man of my word. This is an opportunity of a lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
to truly stamp my foot and make my presence known, make my intentions known, and
Yeah.
completely remove myself from any opportunity ever to join Scientology again. And I had to
Yeah.
take it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it was I'd never been to England before, and it was nice to meet up with someone else who has helped me, Alex, of course, who has helped me very much with my channel, and yeah, just meet another person who is actively speaking out, and it was an opportunity I could not pass up on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you sort of dug yourself a grave in a way,
Yeah,
and then you decided to lie right in it. And how
yep.
was that? How was that for you? Did you, like, I can imagine you couldn't sleep, or how was that for you? Or did you just decide to completely ignore it and sort of only once you're there to sort of, did it only hit you once you were there? Like this happens with me often when there's something very emotional that happens in my life. I
Hmm.
automatically sort of push it away to be able to get on with things that I need to do. And then eventually, either I just pick it up again and just look at it, or it catches up. And then suddenly I'm like, oh my God, this just actually happened. How
Yeah,
was that for you?
that's a really interesting question. Yeah, so for me, I tend to compartmentalize emotions, which is just it's just how I was raised in Scientology, right? Um,
Yeah.
there was definitely some anxiety and nervousness, especially seeing as it's a long flight. It's like a 9-hour flight,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And and then there was days leading up to it. We had
Yeah.
preparation to do, but when we were staging the protest, so the protest happened actually in East Grinstead, the town area. We started at a
Mm-hmm.
pub. There was like
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
48 of us, including some
Mm-hmm.
pretty big people like um, Martin Padfield, and
Yeah.
Captain Bill was there.
Yeah.
Um,
Captain Bill. Mm-hmm.
like really, really, really suppressive people, right? According to
Yeah. Yeah.
Scientology,
Yeah.
but super
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
And having that support there, it was much like in Toronto this past weekend, which I know we're going to get into, but having that support there just made it super easy. It made it like it's not just me being an asshole against Scientology, it's a group of people who see the issue and are willing to stand up against it. And having that force and that dedication to these people or with these people, like that made it super easy. Um, it was certainly a long walk, and we had police escort through part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Once we got onto the laneway, the actual road that St. Hill is on, it was all police escort, and so that was kind of long. But then once we got there and we
How long
started
did it take from the
confronting,
pub from the pub to St. Hill? What was that? Like half
I
an
think it
hour?
was like 45 minutes to an hour, something like that, because
Mm, okay.
it's a couple kilometers, I think, if I
Yeah.
recall correctly.
Mhm,
But
yeah.
it was pretty emotional, and it was like you get these jitters and this like energy running
Mm,
through your body, and it's pretty cool
yeah,
feeling.
totally.
But then once we arrived at the gates and we set up and we started really confronting people, and there was a lot of really good interactions. It's too many to even
Mhm,
remember,
yeah.
but I really felt like it was cementing myself in history, at least for myself and Canadians to face up against this evil cult.
Mhm, yeah. Okay. And how was it then when you started the protest for you? Did you right away shout, "Stop the abuse" and all of that? Or were you more like standing there, sort of watching, almost like standing in front of a desert buffet, after like at a wedding, where everybody sort of watches each other to see who does the first move before you then go and go
Yeah.
for it? You know what I mean? Did you sort of wait and then suddenly, and then you realize, okay, I can do this as well?
Well, nobody was going to take the first move before Alex. Alex
Okay.
was very determined. He
Yeah.
had a very loud voice, and he took the reins on that one for sure. As far as the
He said,
being
"Hold my
vocal
beer."
and and it was actually pretty impressive to see him take the controls on this situation. Like he organized it very
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
and everyone had the right message. At
Mhm.
first, I wasn't going to live
True.
stream, and I don't know
Yeah.
why, but I just didn't. I hadn't done it before. I don't think I'd live stream outside of like this space here.
Yeah.
But then when I started live streaming, that's when I kind of really, um, kind of clicked, and I started being a bit more vocal and
Mhm.
communicating. And I wasn't really aggressive. I was very different in that first protest. I was just saying, don't spend all your money, and maybe like waving little Davy in front of people and kind of like
Yeah.
that. But it was kind of a bit more reserved.
Yeah.
Um, because that was kind of the intention behind that protest, was just to be there. And
Mhm.
especially with that many people, it made sense, just because the presence was known. It made sense just to, keep it pretty chill.
Yeah.
Um, thank you, Leanne. And yeah, so that was kind of that. Like Alex was definitely, vocally, was the main person that was leading the cheers and getting people going. So
Mhm.
I was definitely not the first.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Now I have been so cheeky to go on your channel, and I took a little couple of clips from the
Mhm.
time of the IS event, and because I thought it was kind of funny. So let's see if I manage to do this,
Okay.
um, so everybody can see. And in the chat, please let me know if indeed you can see and hear everything, if everything is okay. Right. So this is the first clip.
Oh, that is really garbled. There we go. So you may not have audio on.
Ah, the audio is not on. Okay. Um, let
When
me
you share
see.
your screen, you want to make sure that you have audio. It should say share audio. There should be a little toggle as well. So you might need to reshare that screen. And we're learning live, people. We're learning
We're
live.
learning. Darlings, this is live TV. Things happen,
Mhm.
or rather don't.
Yeah. So
Uh,
so unshare that screen and then share it again, and then make sure the share audio is clicked.
and how to unshare this? Let me see.
And while you do that, I will say
Ah,
hello to
okay.
some people,
Yes,
because
good
I
idea.
see I got Violet L in the chat. We got Gems of SPs. Sea Org Rescue. Hello, hello. I can't click any of this right now, so we got Fluffy Wickets, made in Manitoba. We got some cool lady named Gabrielle in the chat as well.
Oh, marvelous.
My awesome friend Gabrielle, who did so well at the protest. I was quite proud of her. Protesting is difficult when you're going against something like Scientology, who has completely destroyed your entire psyche. So I was very proud of her.
All right, I'll give it another shot. Hopefully, it will works. It will
Sounds
work.
good.
Yes.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. All right. Well, never mind.
That's okay.
That's okay. Well, I'm very sorry. I got now everybody so excited. Um, well,
Do you want to send me that link to through WhatsApp there real quick? Just unshare your screen.
yes.
And then send me
Okay.
that link real quick, and I'll see if I can set it up from my end.
Yes, I'll do that.
Bear with us, folks. This is
Yes,
fun.
please.
We are learning how
This is
StreamYard
just,
is so annoying sometimes.
well, I'm not gonna blame StreamYard. I'm just unprepared, I must say. I didn't do my
That's
mise
okay.
en place.
We're learning. We're learning. And you guys get to learn with us. Where is everyone watching from anyway? Throw that in the chat.
Yes. And also, if you have any questions, obviously I'm questioning Jeff, but if you have any questions, any comments or whatever, please do us a favor and write it as a question or a comment so that it is clear and obvious for me right away. Because sometimes you do like to chat amongst yourself, which is excellent. And that way I can see it quicker, what is what.
Okay, buddy, that should work. If you want to click that on there, and if you
Okay.
want to share the
Should I
screen
send
that's
you?
down there.
Yeah, let me just send you up because I've got 4 clips.
Yep.
I'll send you all of them and then
It's funny, I don't even know what clip this is. I haven't seen it yet, but it should seem familiar because
okay.
I was there.
Well, you all,
It is me
it
after
certainly
all.
was you. It is you. I mean, you have done a few protests, and I just took now 4 little clips, which I thought were maybe funny. All right. Good.
So if you want to go ahead and share that screen there, that's on the bottom, and then I'll get it playing.
Oh, yes. Excellent. Yeah.
I don't have control of it, so I can. There we go. All right. This should work, guys. Gate still. I got my sign here. Abuse in Scientology must end. We are here to help. And speaking of help, the private security are amazing blokes. They're definitely liking the way we protest. Yes? Have we been peaceful? Except for Janet Laveau and the people who are behind those walls. But that's okay. You know, eventually they will wake up and realize what is going on. Gate still. I got my. There you go.
Excellent. Yeah, I wanted to show that even security approved of the protest.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to, do you know which clip you want next here?
Well, just the we can do the next one that I sent to you.
Okay. Did you want to do that now?
Please? Yes, please. We can do that right now.
Oh, 1 sec here. All right. I will share my screen again. There you go. You can pop it on.
All right.
Here he is. He's protesting with me. He's got his own sign. Go, go, Power Thetans. And he can dance. He can dance. Everybody look at his pants. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Even David Miscavige was there. So, you know.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Where has that gone? Here we go. You want the third one now?
No, we can do the other ones afterwards. But
Sounds good.
we did ask the people where they are watching from. So let me just click on some of those answers. Here we go. So we got from Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Excellent. The Thumb of Michigan.
The Thumb of Michigan.
Is that a mountain range?
That's a good question.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Excellent. Vancouver. Marvelous. Wow, from Cuba. My goodness.
Yeah. Cubana Chica, sorry. Comment. She's always, or I'm not sure. I assume it's a girl, but always in the chat.
Then we got from San Francisco, California. Hello there. Surprise Manitoba?
Because they're made in Manitoba. Surprise, Manitoba.
Oh, okay. Aha. Okay, now I got it. Right. Sorry,
We got someone
probably
from Vancouver too. Vic Vaughn from Vancouver. Nice.
Vic Van, yeah. From the UK, excellent, yeah. My name is Samuel, darling, but thank you indeed. But this happens more often than you'd think. So often I've been called Simon. From Chicago. My former boss in the Seahawk was from Chicago. His name was Christopher. From the
Interesting.
Windy City.
Yeah.
And then every time after he said that, he would raise his leg and let one go.
No.
Anyway, absolutely.
How crude.
How crude. Ontario, excellent. Right. Okay, we've got here some Southern Alberta from Old Fluff Plucker.
Oh, we got someone named Growing Up in Scientology in the chat.
Growing up in
I think I might have heard of him.
Really? Oh, I don't see him.
He's there.
Oh, maybe. Oh, am I not able to see your chat?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Ah, maybe that's why.
I think he's on your channel. But anyway, cool. So back to the UK protest.
Oh, yeah, right? Here. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yep.
Here he is. Hello, Aaron. Nice to see you there. All right. Anyway, yes. So we were talking about the protest, exactly.
Yep.
And yeah, so you were there at the protest. You were there for the 3 days at the IS event. And how was that after that? I mean, that was quite exhausting, I can imagine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was dealing with jet lag as well. And
yeah, on top of that.
Just, I think probably the biggest thing that I got out of it, and I said it many times, is just the facing up against like literal OSA face to face and basically saying, F you. We don't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
You don't mean anything to us. You have no power over us. That was probably the biggest thing. There was one guy there. We call him Ninja Man. He was dressed all in black, face covered, hood up, a black jacket. But the funny thing with his black jacket is it said the label said Greenfield School, and Greenfield School, as you know, sir, is a Scientology school. And so this person was basically just a public who does work for OSA to kind of keep that separation between OSA and the dirty tricks.
Yeah.
And every city has a Scientologist who does this work.
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously didn't do a very good job of it because people kind of recognized who he was.
Yeah.
And I forget what his exact title was, but he was identified as a person. And so I just thought that was hilarious. And he gave me my first cam back, and you never forget your first.
Yeah.
He was across the street filming both Alex and I. And so we ran across the street and just shoved our phones in his face and gave him his own cam back. It was hilarious. And the feeling of taking back power was amazing. So
I can imagine. Yeah. Goodness. Okay. Right. And then after that, you came back to Canada, and you decided, all right, let's start something on my turf. And then you went to Vancouver. I believe that was your next one.
Yep.
And then after that, you went to...
That was my local org. So
yeah,
I literally grew up in this building, like from a baby. I was brought there. I was brought there during like post time when my parents were on post, and I spent time on staff there. I know everybody in this field. 95% of the people I know and have known, have served with, have done Scientology with. Like, it's a really deep connection. So this one was hard.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. I think you even mentioned either on the stream when you were doing it or afterwards when you sort of like talked about it after you did it, that you said that you sort of had to go back and forth, sort of walked around it a little bit before you actually decided to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty pumped up and I was ready to go, but as I turned the corner and saw the org, and then I saw that somebody I knew was there already,
Mhm.
um, my legs started shaking. I started getting
Goodness.
nauseous. Like it was
Oh,
a
yeah.
really visceral reaction,
Yeah.
and I was across the street and I was sort of setting up, and I thought, you know what, I can't do this. I
Mm.
can't, like, I'm too emotional,
Mhm.
and so I turned around the corner and I called Andrea and I said, hey, like, I'm like freaking out right now.
Mm.
And then she said, well, you don't have to do it. Maybe just, see how you feel in a few minutes. And so I did, and I kind of got my camera out and I was just going to take some pictures from across the street. And then I looked over and James saw me. And so I said, you know what, screw it. I waved at him. I walked across the street and I started talking to him, and I was filming. And I said, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to be filming. I'm protesting Scientology. And then we had a big, long conversation. And then after that, it just, whatever that feeling of nervousness and anxiousness kind of disappeared. And I just really leaned into it,
Mhm.
as you guys might have seen.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. And while you were there, you spotted some serious outpoints that it was quite filthy. It was quite dirty,
Yeah.
filthy. And I think after that, I pretty much acknowledged for you that OSA, or at least somebody who hired by OSA or whatever, is watching your video. Because the next time you were there, it wasn't spotless, but it was definitely much cleaner.
Yes. And I
So if
actually
you
had a
want,
conversation with James about that in a later
hmm,
protest. And
yeah,
I said, so I happen to notice that literally, like, the few days after I was there and mentioned that the sign was dirty, all of a sudden it got
hmm,
clean. And he said,
hmm,
and the guy said, James said, oh, that's been on my list for like 6 months. So he's the one that
hmm,
cleaned it. And
okay.
I said, I
But
did
then it was
notice a
probably
few
pushed
different
up
spots.
on the list, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It was pushed up on the list.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was funny because they can't admit that I made any
No, of course not.
difference. Yeah. So
You know, this reminds me, just talking about myself now, just for a moment. This reminds me, I actually have been chatting with somebody who I knew when I was in the SEOG.
mm,
And but he left the SEOG some years later. And then he showed me a picture of the stables, which is where I worked. And there was a piece of paper basically saying, show us your voting sheet and you get a free cookie. And this was in 2016, 4 years after I left. So I was the one who introduced the whole idea of uh, motivate the staff to vote so that you have good statistic doing the cookies, and they're still doing it 4 years later. But I, the bad suppressive, I was the one who invented that, and they're still doing it now. So I wonder what they say if, like, for example, somebody on the EPF, or somebody who's new there says, oh, this is a really good idea, who had this idea, like where did this come from. Like, I wonder what they tell them. They can't tell, well, that we once had this guy here, Samuel, and he came up with it. And that would be interesting. Or maybe they'll say, oh, we've always done that. Or I don't
yeah,
know.
It's
Hubbard
Ron's new
started it.
policy.
Hubbard, 1968, when he was here, he started with this, and ever since.
That would be funny.
Yeah,
They will not admit that it was a suppressive person.
indeed.
Yeah.
If you want, you can share now the third clip that I sent to you,
Sure thing. Sure thing.
which
Do.
shows us the Vancouver org in all its lack of glory.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Dirty.
Shame on you. Shame.
Hey,
Shame.
gross.
Shame.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was so covered in algae and it was
Mhm.
disgusting.
Yeah. All
Would
right.
you want that?
So then after that, you went to Denver, then Seattle, Toronto, and you
Not
did
Denver.
protest. Oh, not Denver.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Never been to Denver, but I would love to go to Denver.
Okay. So anybody who
One day.
wants to donate a flight ticket,
No, no, no,
You know
please
where
don't.
to go. Hang on,
Please don't.
I actually made a banner. Uh, So anyone watching on my stream and for some reason is not subscribed to Jeff's wonderful channel, here it is. And
Oh.
this would also be his email address in case you want to donate said ticket. Or, well, you can explain for what they can use the email for.
You can email me for any stories or anything you just want to say privately. I'm happy to receive and respond to any emails I receive. I respond to most of them. Every now and then one slips through the crack, but yeah, I
Yeah,
love hearing things.
just rewrite it again. Just send
Yeah,
it
yeah. If
again.
I don't respond to you,
Yeah,
it's nothing personal. I just
yeah.
I get quite a few emails, and sometimes things get missed.
Of course. And the same goes for me. If you want to write to me directly, anything you write to me will be confidential unless you want me to talk about it or whatever. Or if you tell me a specific piece of information, I will ask you, oh, is it okay if I share this? And yeah, you don't have to be a ex-Scientologist. You can chat to, you can write to me even if you've never been in Scientology. You can just, let's just have a chat and have a little chin wag.
Yes, the chin
And the
wag. I
same
love it.
thing, if I don't respond, just send it again. Maybe I just didn't see it,
Yeah, and
that sort of
sometimes
thing.
people send me emails to ptsforlife@gmail.com, which is not
Ah,
my email. It's
right.
make sure you put I am PTS for life
I wonder,
at
did I do it
gmail.com.
correct? Did I do it correctly? Let me just
You
see.
did,
I am
yes.
PDS5. Okay, thank
I have
goodness.
had a
That would have
few
been,
issues though, and so that's yeah.
yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. Okay, right. Yes. So, where were we?
We were
Please
discussing
forgive me.
the sorry state of the Vancouver Scientology organization and my first
Ah, yes,
protest
that's
there.
right. Yeah. Exactly. And then, well, how was that for you afterwards? So at first, you already explained you were very jitty, you were very nervous, you actually wanted to not even do it, and eventually you did it.
Mhm.
You were able to talk to some people that you knew, see them, even if maybe they ignored you after they realized what you were actually doing there. How was that for you during that time and afterwards?
It was very empowering because
Hmm.
it's one thing to let the internet know or a different country know that you are
Hmm.
against their beliefs or
Yeah.
their actions and the organization of Scientology, but to face up to all your old friends and say, "Hey, this is my stance on this. Um, like it or lump it." you know,
Yeah.
it was very empowering. Um, It was a little bit hard as well because I knew that eventually, and it did happen, that my dad would find out and I'd be disconnected from.
Mm.
But that thought was always in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just really ensuring that I will never ever be part of Scientology again, and that felt really good.
Yeah. Did you have let me just see how I'm gonna phrase this question.
Mhm.
But at what point did you say for yourself, I'm not a Scientologist anymore? And how long did this take? And during this time where you slowly were able to say, all right, I'm not a Scientologist, was there a point where Scientology could have said or done something to make you go back in? Like, was that always sort of like a little fear that you had? And then, as you said, having done this protest and so on and so forth, that almost ensured that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, definitely ensures it's never going to happen. Um, and that's a really interesting question, and I think this is common for a lot of people in many different cults, or just coercive control groups or whatever, even MLMs.
Hmm.
When like when you're obviously I was born in Scientology, I was raised in Scientology, and so that
Yeah.
purpose was kind of instilled in me, and it's in my brain, it's there. But over the years, there have been a few times where I've left Scientology and kind of gone
Mm.
on a bubble, and a lot of people in Scientology are on this bubble, which
Yeah.
is just it's very obvious, right?
Mm.
Um, but there's been times where I've been what Scientology calls recovered, where someone who's just kind of sitting out in the field, not really doing much, they get reached out to, and through a certain process called recovering students and PCs, which is not something that gets gone over very often, but they're able to revitalize or reignite a passion or a purpose
Hmm.
in that
Yeah.
person and equate it to their time in Scientology, and then that kind of
Mm,
drags them back in.
totally.
And this has happened to me a couple times. In 2012, when I was down in Los Angeles and being mistreated by the Sea Org personnel there, because I was rejoining the Sea Org,
Hmm.
that at that point is when I left. I was like, I'm never ever going back into Scientology again. And of course, it took me a decade of learning stuff and um, reshifting my thinking and so forth before I finally started my YouTube channel, and then
Hmm.
subsequently started actually like protesting and speaking out. So, um, 2012 is, to answer your question specifically, 2012 is where I knew I would never join Scientology again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many years did that take for you to sort of say that for sure for yourself? Like even
Well,
if
it was
they were
pretty
to
instant.
come and you, oh really? Was it that instant? Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I used to smoke, and
Hmm.
I actually started smoking when I was in the Sea Org when I was 14.
Many
I
do,
remember
yes.
the cigarette. I remember the people I was with. It was on the parkade structure behind Big Blue. We were on the
Hmm.
roof, and it was a break or something, and some kids had a cigarette, and so I had one, and I was addicted. When I was, I want to say 28, 29, something like that,
Yeah.
I was quitting smoking, and then I just kind of made this mental decision that I'm never going to smoke again.
Hmm.
And any previous attempts to quit have been unsuccessful. But this one, I knew like there was like a certainty that I would never smoke again. And
Hmm.
so that's the same feeling I had when I was in 2012
Wow.
when I
Okay.
was telling the Has of Bridge Publications, who's the basically, for anyone who doesn't know, the Has is in charge of all the personnel and ethics and so forth in an organization,
Hmm.
essentially the HR department. When I was telling him that I am out of here, um, he spent hours trying to convince me to stay, and I said, "Nope, I'm out of here." And that at that point, it shifted in my mind that I was never going to be in Scientology again, and I
Hmm.
haven't. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a funny thing,
Wow. Yeah.
like once you make up your mind, it can be a pretty powerful thing. Like just that's it. That's my decision. It's done. And
Yeah.
I am fairly stubborn, so
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. No, it took me, unfortunately. I'm glad it was so quick for you. It took me some years. I physically left the SEOG in 2012, which is
mhm.
funny. It's the same time like as you, but it took me about a good 5 years, 5 years for finally, to be able to say, you know what, I'm not a Scientologist anymore. It took me a while, but anyway, here I am now.
Yeah.
Scientology sucks. Okay.
And we're glad to have you, Samuel. We're glad to
Oh,
have
thank
you
you
on
very
this side.
much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's share the last screen
sure.
because this is your most recent event, and um, I have to say I laughed rather a lot during this screen. During this protest, it was the volunteer minister event that you guys protested,
Mhm.
and there was very funny little clips that happened from there. Some naughty comments, and but it was just so nice. It was just so nice seeing you guys just laughing. You guys
Yeah,
had such a good time, and Scientology was just stressed out. There was like nobody there. 95% of the people that were there were staff or were already Scientologists, and
yeah,
there were only a couple of people there that sort of stumbled upon upon it, and they were just stressed out because they knew they're gonna be grilled when they go home because they didn't sell this, they didn't sell that, they didn't have enough bodies in the shop, as they say. And you guys were just there having a laugh, taking the Mickey out of them, and it was just so nice seeing that. That it just sort of shows that it is so much nicer on the other side. And so yeah, let's
well, I will tell you too. I'll add to that,
Yeah.
Samuel.
Mm.
I have learned information which I am not able to share, that this event that got switched to this mattress store parking lot
Yeah.
was a much bigger flap, a much bigger disruption for
Okay.
Scientology.
Yeah.
And I am so proud of the protesters
Mm.
who made this happen, made this successful. All the people in Toronto, they're so
Yeah.
supportive, and I am so happy that Phil Jones was decided to come join us that day, because he is responsible for us finding this tent. If
Mm.
he didn't, if his GPS didn't track him the wrong way, we never would have known this was actually happening. We
Oh,
would have just
wow.
assumed the event was canceled. But
Yeah.
we did. We won the day so much bigger than I can discuss right now. So
Yeah,
all
for
the
sure.
protesters should be very proud of themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, there's the screen for you. It is
Yeah.
shared at your
So
leisure.
without any further ado, let's have a look what happened there. One of the
They
many
poured
different.
water on me.
They assault people every
They
day.
made me wet.
Oh, I'm not gonna say it.
Did you tell them what you did?
Stop carrying concealed boobs. Apparently, it's boob tech.
They poured water on.
So, and just to explain that for people who haven't actually seen the whole thing happen, is it Christina, I believe it was, she went over, she was in the back of the tent, and she got water poured all over her because there was water on the top of the tent, and it poured all over her.
Mm.
And then she went in there to complain about it, and this lady, one of the, I'm gonna call her the bodyguard lady who was kicking people off,
Yeah.
she was to basically tell her to get off, and then Christina flashed her.
Mhm.
And then they just started laughing, and then there was a high five that was given between the
Yeah, I saw
bodyguard
that.
volunteer minister person and Christina. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck is going on here? Why are they high fiving each other? And then of course Christina came and told me, and like the story, and it was so absurd. What a thing to
Yeah.
do, right? She's awesome, but
Yeah.
that's why it came out. But yeah, boob tech, boobology, you know, it's
Yeah.
pretty funny. And then of course we were laughing about the perky tips of the tent and all this
Yes, of
stuff.
course. Yeah. Yeah,
It was a good time.
Gabriel, and how Scientology needs to wrap up because Gabriel needs to go to a sex cult meeting or something
Yep.
like that.
Yep, pack it up. We're
Pack
late
it up,
for our meeting.
guys. Yeah.
It's amazing the people that are in Toronto. I've got a couple awesome people that support me here. Larry, the good black hat cowboy, of
Mhm.
course, and then Nathaniel, who has been to any protest I ask him to come to, and happily. But the crew there are truly passionate, and I'm very proud of them. Very, very proud of them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was it was so fun to watch that, and there were lots. I mean, you could make so many shorts from that because it was so hilarious, and it's just fun watching you guys having fun and Scientology just being there completely like frustrated because they're not allowed to laugh at the jokes. They're not allowed to laugh at the jokes even if they do think they're funny, because even in Scientology you're not allowed to make jokes really. Or if you make a joke, it's like a really like a sort of like an eye roller. It's not really that funny because you're not allowed to make fun of life, of Scientology, or anything like that. So yeah, so that was a very fun stream. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the questions that I've already started. And yes, so let me see. Oh yes, excellent. So we've got one here from Yolanda. She's actually an activist who writes quite regularly, makes posts on Instagram, and she has also a what's the word? Not a newspaper, but like a blog where she posts things, and then you get an email about it. Where she almost every day, surely 3, 4, 5 times a week, she will write something, post something about Scientology and everything. Yeah, it's great.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Hmm. Great choice for your first interview. Yes, indeed. Doug from Clearwater. Sam is very emotional. From escaping to Cultivos A. Emotional. Am I? Well.
No. So she's referring to talking about protesting.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically against,
Oh, it's
such
very
a,
emotional like that. Yeah.
yeah,
I
it is very
understand. It is.
emotional, and
Oh,
Gabe,
yeah.
you showed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we have again from Yolanda. It's in German.
You will have to translate.
Right. Every ex-Scientology does such protest. It does well for every ex-Scientology to see such protest. To show that the activists, they are not aggressive. They're just there giving a message, and as we seen in the last clip, having fun. Basically, yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah,
that we're not the monsters that Scientology would portray us to be.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It's funny, like, just to bring that up, there are many different ways to protest. There are many different ways to communicate.
Sure.
Sometimes we don't always communicate the correct way, but communicating is important. People who've watched my protests, you can see that I can flip on the switch. I can go from super casual, standing there, to super aggressive and joking and making fun of people or saying things, stuff like this. But the important thing is that you get your message, whatever you're feeling, whatever that is, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whether it's whatever. As long as you're communicating your message honestly and you're true to yourself, that's the key.
Yeah, because of course there are lots of emotions bubbling under the surface, particularly for somebody who was in Scientology.
Yeah.
And for the first time, for some people, it's the first time to be able to actually hit back at all that was done to you over all of those years. And yeah.
And honestly, like, if you guys haven't seen my video of the conversation with the Seorg member, I actually have another recorded conversation I had with her before I started live streaming. And the message I was saying to her was like, I'm not against you personally. I'm against Scientology and the organization. Unfortunately, you represent that organization, so you're going to take this. Like, you're the one that's going to get this, right? Some of these people are complicit. Yvette Shank, for example, who's the older lady I was talking to, she's been the commanding officer of OSA in Canada since like the 70s. Wow. She is complicit. She is guilty of disrupting people's lives and fair game. She's basically like the Canadian, like, old Mike Rinder kind of thing. So she is complicit, and she deserves everything she gets, but not everyone does. So you do have to kind of switch up your tactics a little bit. And for someone who kind of, like, if you're an ex-Scientologist going into this and like, for example, if someone's on OT7 in Toronto where she's carrying the e-meter that's lanyarded to her wrist, so the data is secure, you can kind of tailor your message a little bit towards those people if you can see and spot these things, right?
These things,
yeah. So all I'm trying to say is that everyone's approach is different. As long as you're genuine to yourself and you're being authentic, I think the message is the right one. So that's what I try to do. It doesn't always work out.
No, but I absolutely agree that every way to protest is, I mean, not every way. I mean, don't jump at people or something like that.
Yeah.
But anything that's not that's everything that's legal, that's perfectly fine. Because not only, I mean, some people protest in a way because they want to get people out. They try to show them, look, it's not that bad out here. And some people protest because they don't want any more people to get in.
Yep.
So these are two completely different ways that you would protest, for example. I mean, these are just two examples, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and some people just stand there with the sign, and some people yell at the police like I do sometimes.
Right.
Because as long as you're making yourself heard, you're going to do something, whether it's good or bad. You're going to do something. There's going to be an effect. And that's kind of the point of protesting, right? To make an effect. And hopefully it's the right one. It's not always, though.
Sure.
So.
All right. So we got here a question from Lini G again. All right. Question, Simon. What years were you at St. Hill? And Jeff, for you, Jeff, will you be there this year? So I was at St. Hill working there from 2005 until 2012.
And I will probably not be there this year, unfortunately. Not sure I can swing that, if only financially, but time-wise, it's
so if a benefactor were to then possibly.
I don't think that's going to happen a second time. That was a unique thing, but it's I think though that there are so many people in the UK that will be there. Like even the first year, there was 48 people, I think, on the first night. That's huge. That's a big protest. So I do believe that. I think the support's there, and as much as I would love to fly there, I think even if I were to come up with the funds for that, I don't think I would be able to. It's such a long flight. It's such a long time to be away that I can only do so much.
Sure, but you'll be there in spirit.
Absolutely, I will be. I will be clicking onto everyone's live stream and supporting them that way.
Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we got here a comment from Selma, complicated last name. Comment, yay, I caught your first live, Samuel. Lots of love from the Netherlands. Well, hello there from the Netherlands.
Yeah.
We got here another comment. Take care. They take credit for everything. A front group for patisserie. Well, patisserie.
Talking about stealing your cookie idea.
Yeah, stealing my cooking idea. How dare they? I should have put a trademark on that, because then they would have to pay me now for it.
That'd be funny.
Then we got here the Ethical Tailor saying hello.
Hi, Claire.
I did an interview on Claire's channel where we were talking about art, about how art can help recover also from mental health, from depression and all of that. That was a very interesting talk.
Yeah, that was awesome. And I do plan on doing a bit more. I am going to be shifting focus on my channel a little bit more away from the protesting and maybe recovery. Because I really feel like that needs to be focused on a bit more. Like I said in my yesterday's live about Safe Portland, it's not sexy and it's not it doesn't get the clicks and views like I feel like it should, but it's really important. And that's where I feel like I'm getting the most like feeling of pride is helping someone get connection with the help that they need. It's something I wish I had right away. And so that's why I'm trying to focus on that a bit more. But you will see me outside of works every now and then, though.
Yeah. No, it's good that it's good that you make something that is relevant and lasts, for longer than just, as you said, this is sexier to do this. And, at the moment it's maybe great, but maybe later on it's not that, maybe, shall we say, relevant, or maybe not that interesting because things have moved on in the world. But doing things, as you say, for mental health and helping people that way and helping yourself that way to understand better what happened to you and why you feel the way that you feel, how you felt back then, and so on and so forth. I think that is something that would be, well, first of all, for you, it will last for the rest of your life.
Yep.
And naturally, if you can share that and show that and explain that with others, that will obviously help other people along the way in the future as well. So It's very noble of you. Yeah. Here's an interesting question from Peter Anderson with a very naughty picture. Question: have you heard what you might say if your father, should he come into the Vancouver org while you were protesting? Goodness.
I couldn't even imagine. He's not really active at the org in person anymore. I think he might be doing extension courses. He's 80. He's 80 this year, actually, in September. and he's, dealing with lung cancer. I don't know
Mm,
I don't even know if he's survived the treatment or not. So,
okay.
I won't find out unless I find out accidentally. No one's going to call me and tell me that he's passed away or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I would probably just tell him that I love him.
Yeah.
Like, I
That's
mean,
that's.
I'm not
Mm,
going to convince him that Scientology isn't the way. I'm not going to
yeah.
convince him that I'm not an evil person for speaking out. But
Mm,
I will tell him honestly that I do love him, and I wish he hadn't made that decision, but it is what it is.
yeah.
We all make our bed and we have to lay in it, right?
Quite. Yeah. Got here from Scientology up north. Hi from Denmark. She has a YouTube channel where she films things from Denmark, where the CLO AOSH from Denmark up there. She
Oh,
films
cool.
things like that. So it's very interesting.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Got here another comment. Thank you both so much for speaking out. You are giving me confidence to speak out. How do you get past feeling terrified? From Lenny G again. Do you want to answer that first while I think about it?
I mean, everyone's different, right?
Mm,
So I don't know how you get past being terrified. I get past it because I need to remind myself that what I'm doing is the best decision for me right now.
mm,
It may not be the best decision for me in a week or 2 weeks or 3 years. It probably
yeah,
wasn't the best decision 10 years ago. But right now, this is my best decision. And that just makes it so I can look at what I'm doing and decide that this is the right thing. And after that, I feel like I don't know that I feel terror, but the nerves and the anxiousness does tend to go away at that point.
yeah,
At least until the next time.
sure. Well,
I
it's a
still
little
get
bit like
nervous every time I do a
stage
live.
fright. Yeah,
So
of course.
yeah,
It's like stage fright. Great actors talk about whenever they go on stage or whatever, have to do a scene, they get nervous, and then once they start it, then it's okay. And I think it's fair to compare it a little bit to that. With me, I'm not sure if the question, Lenny G again, specifically was because of protests, being terrified to do that. I mean, I haven't been on a protest yet, but just generally, speaking out, having done the interview with you, Jeff, I was nervous for sure. I was not sure, what was going to happen because I had never told my story chronologically. You know, I have talked with friends of mine about certain situations. Maybe we talk about something, a particular subject, and I said, "Oh, back in England, this and this happened when I did that," and then their expressions and their concern and whatever showed me and made me realize, okay, that wasn't exactly normal. That was something, not quite so nice. And the first time on your channel, having talked about it chronologically, I became very emotional. I mean, the whole interview was, I think, about 5.5 hours. We did it in three sections of it.
yep.
And in the third part, I was talking about my father, and I just burst out crying. And it wasn't necessarily, yes, there was some emotion attached to my father as well, but it was just talking about all of what has happened, and it sort of stacked up on top of each other, and then it just sort of, it was at my release to sort of, I had to cry. I couldn't help it,
Yeah.
which is very rare for me. I don't cry very much. I have difficulty, showing very strong emotions. I can still be very petty, but like crying or like showing like lots of joy and things like that, I have a bit difficulty with that. So that was quite a thing for me. But it was a great feeling. It was a great feeling to have done that. And every time after the interview, because we did 3 interviews, I felt relieved having done that. And then
Yeah.
an hour, or well, actually a day before we then did the next interview, I just, I couldn't sleep. I had explosive diarrhea. It was terrible. Unfortunately, I don't have a cleaning lady. I have to do it all myself. Anyway,
Oh my goodness.
and
Oh my goodness. Look at the
goodness
time.
gracious.
No, I'm just kidding.
Look at the time. Look at the time.
No, but you know what? It's funny though, because
Yeah.
you haven't done it yet, and I'm sure you will if you
Mm,
want to. But this weekend was pretty emotional for me.
mm,
The after effects it takes a while for things to process in your brain of what you just did.
Yeah.
And it is very much like an onion. Like they always say, you go off one layer, it might just be a thin skin, but sometimes it's a thicker layer, and then all of a sudden there's more released and then more opened up, and sometimes that wound is deeper than you think. And you don't, like, I've literally just been on the couch and I'm just like, I just start bawling out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Which is insane for me because that's not who I am generally. Like
Mhm.
I've always been able to hold those emotions back really, really well.
Yeah.
But when you open up the wound, there's only so much you can do to stop it, and you gotta let it do its thing, and then that way you can actually start healing. And then you open up another one that you
Yeah.
didn't even know was there,
Yeah.
and it happens again. So you just need to embrace it and accept that that's what it is, and then learn from it and go from there and grow from it. And that's what I'm trying to focus on with myself. I'm not always successful at it, but
Sure.
it is really important to just accept that that's what happened and go from there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And our experiences have made us the fabulous people that we are today.
Marvelous.
So marvelous, most marvelous. Yes. We have Ubik here. We have Brad, the chief of SP Security, who was also at the protest.
And
At
saved my
yesterday.
ass for sure.
Saved
At
your
least
ass,
saved
yes.
my voice.
Okay.
Lovely man who delivered hot tea. I think it was honey and ginger, if I recall correctly.
Excellent.
And it was amazing. Held an umbrella over me so I could live stream and ask me amazing questions like this. Why am I so handsome?
Yeah. Why are you so handsome, Jeff?
I don't know. I guess I'm
No.
just following after Brad.
Yeah, possibly. Got here a little comment for Jeff. I'm so proud of you for so many reasons. Don't let anyone, any bad words stop you now. Love, Boob Tech. Yes. We all love
Nothing
Boob
is stopping me now. There is no stopping.
Yeah. And we got here from Hans Christian Schwarz, who came a little late, but hello, nice to see you.
You're never late.
You're never late. You're like the queen. You're just on time.
Exactly.
Precisely when you wanted to be there.
Exactly.
So, so these were all the start questions. Maybe we have some new questions since then.
I don't see too many.
All right. If anyone has any more questions or any compliments for us, of course, we are very happy to hear those. Naturally.
Compliments, please. I really need my self-esteem pumped up.
Yeah, that's. Oh, look at that! We've got another celebrity here, Helicopter Replay Crew. Looking forward to listening to this. Sending good vibes to you both. Well, thank you very much, Kelly. Nice seeing you here.
Yep. Thanks for jumping in.
Indeed.
I like. So Gabe just posted a comment there.
Yeah.
That is interesting. The grief flows easily, but the anger and rage is a tough one to deal with, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Most of my, like, I'm a 0 to 100 kind of guy. I don't generally sit in between, as Andrea will testify. And that does not just for emotions, but for doing things. Like I don't tend to just dabble in things. I either go not in it at all, or I go hardcore into it.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And anger and rage comes very quickly for me. I'm a fight kind of guy. I'm not a flight. I don't run away from things. I don't run away from a challenge. That if something is challenging me physically or even emotionally, I don't run away from it. I fight it. It's not always the best reaction, so it's something I'm working on. But I think that it's always a conscious effort. And the anger and rage that I feel and act upon is the most embarrassing for me. Like if it happens, like, or shameful, I guess. Whereas grief doesn't have that same connotation for me. So it's easier to deal with when it does happen. Like if I cry, I just cry. But if I get angry and maybe I say something I don't mean, or do something I don't
Right.
intend to do out of that
Yeah.
emotion is when
Yeah.
I tend to feel shame towards it, and that's what
Sure.
bothers me. So
Yeah.
I totally get it, Gabe, and completely agree with you.
Yeah, it's funny because I've got the same. I have to say it's very similar for me as well. Rage comes to me quite quickly at times. Being in the kitchen, it's a very, very fast pace. There's no pardon. There's no excuse. You can't say, oh, okay, I'll do this tomorrow. I'll take this home. No, the guest wants his food right now, and you have to deliver every single time 100%. You cannot make a mistake, and don't ever expect a thank you or that it was good, because the guest comes to the restaurant expecting it to be good, right? So when it's good, all right, delivered. There's no reason to give a compliment. You'll get a compliment if it's particularly good, but if there is one thing wrong with it, you will hear about it immediately. And so, because there's so much stress from the side of the customers, when you work in the kitchen and you have your mise en place, you have your setup. So mise en place, just for anyone who doesn't know, is the term that we use in the kitchen, and you can actually use it anywhere. It's basically everything that you do to prepare for you to be able to work. So if you get, if you work in an office, your mise en place will be making sure that the printer, the paper is in there, that you have all your pens where they're supposed to be, you have your paper clips, everything is there where it's supposed to be, so that when you come at your shift, you can just start. You don't have to scramble around and find the things that you need, right? In the kitchen, this is essential because you need to be as quick as possible. And then when you work in the kitchen and some person, shall we say, decides to take your mise en place or ruin your mise en place or sabotage or whatever, I get very quickly very angry. But I'm very proud to say I've never actually shouted at any other chef. I've never actually shouted at any other chef, cook, dishwasher, or anything like that, because I can sort of recognize that this need for being as quick as possible, for being perfect, even though perfection is impossible, that comes from my time being in Scientology, because it has to be always perfect. And even if you deliver a perfect product, the next time that you deliver the same product, it has to be at the very least exactly the same quality or even better. It cannot drop. The quality cannot drop. It has to be, well, best case scenario, it always has to be better. And acknowledgements or like you've done a good job, they last for 5 minutes and then they're already forgotten. You have to get on with it. And I can recognize that is probably where this has come from, mainly,
Well, you have to keep your stats up.
Because you have to keep your stat up always at all times. And so when this happens in the kitchen, it doesn't happen so much anymore now because I've matured more, like a good wine. And and now I work also in a restaurant where the environment is a bit more friendly, I have to say, where the head chef is very friendly, and he comes and, how are you? And he genuinely means it, not like, hi, how are you? Good, thanks. How are you? Goodbye. And then you get on with it, but like genuinely. And he has a very good sense of like emotion. He can tell if something is off, and then he'll take me to the side, so I don't have to talk in front of the others. And then he like, is everything okay? Do you need something? And whatever. So that is a little I'm a little unused to that in a way. So I have to get used to that. Compassion, my goodness.
Weird. What's that?
Wait, what is that? Can you eat that?
Well, it's funny. Sorry, just to go back to what you were just saying.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about stats being up and everything always has to be better, it also like doesn't carry over to the next week in Scientology.
Right.
So Thursday at 2, literally 2:01, you're thinking, how am I going to get my stats up again?
Yeah.
And then if you're down stat the next week, it doesn't matter what you did before because that's not this week.
That's right.
And it
doesn't matter that now on an average you do 50 of whatever, let's say book sales. Now you sell 50 a week on average, but 6 months ago you only sold 10, for example.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant.
It all kind of resets itself. And it is something that, like you're saying, that perfection, I've carried that into my working career as well. Like it's this hardcore must be perfect, must do more, must be faster, but really you end up being the highest performer and people get mad at you for doing so well, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. Or like, people get mad. Or for example, they think I'm being sarcastic. They think I'm being I'm trying to be funny or something. Like, for example, because I can't stand still. I can't stand still and just not do something. In the
Yeah.
kitchen, there's always something to do. There's always something to prep. There's always something to clean. There's something to to prepare, to serve, to do, to clean. Always something to do. And so whenever there is a moment, there's no ticket. There's right now not. Okay, I drop, I go away, take a bucket of water. I start cleaning the drawers. I start doing this. I start doing that. Or for example, I see on the other station, Garmager, so the guy who's responsible for all the cold stuff, all the salads and so on and so forth. I go over there, I help him out because he needs help, and sometimes it gets interpreted as in they're too slow, so now I have to help them in that sense, rather than, oh well, right now I'm done with all my things because whatever, and I would like to help you out because I can see you need help, right? So, and we all a team. It's a very tight team in the kitchen, because when you serve a dish, you have different components and elements on there, and the different parts of the kitchen are responsible to make that. So there's a lot of it's like the head chef is like a conductor of an orchestra. He needs to make sure everybody knows what they're doing and it all comes together at the same time. Not that one part is already done and the other part still needs 10 minutes. It needs to come down all at the same time. It needs to be perfectly done. And that's why it's very important to watch out for everybody else, that all their stuff is fine and stuff. But I've had this a few times where people, took umbrage at me, jumping in and helping them. And yeah, so I know what you mean. It's or like, I've had also people saying, oh, you try way too hard, or like chill out now, we don't have an order now, you can sit there, be on your phone until there's the next. But I can't do that. I feel guilty. I feel like I'm wasting my boss's time. I'm wasting their money because they're paying me, and I'm standing there on the phone while there is a stain on the floor. And yeah,
totally get it.
But I've been, as I said, I've mellowed down a little bit. I've been a little bit more chill. I've been able to recognize, okay, today we've had a really busy day. Tomorrow, if it's a bit less busy, I'm gonna walk from station to station instead of jogging, because usually I jog from station to station to do.
You should be running.
I should be running, actually, but it's actually very dangerous in the kitchen to run around with people with knives in hands.
That's fair.
So I do these sort of things, and slowly but surely I can realize also, okay, fine. I can say, the guest, he can wait for 5 minutes. It's fine. He's got time. I don't have to think about, oh my God, he needs to have his food right now. He's in a restaurant. You're there to chill, relax, and enjoy your meal. You don't need to be rushed. Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Do you have a tattoo on your finger, Samuel?
I do. I was one of those people who did one of those mustache tattoos. Remember?
There you go.
From ages ago. So
Leanne was asking that. So.
Okay. I haven't caught up yet. So here we have a very interesting question. Why are you so handsome, Samuel? Oh, stop it. Please keep going. Get across the pond and I'll introduce you around. You need to find a good Canadian boy. Indeed. Well, I've had very good experience with Canadian boys so far. They're very polite, very handsome. So, I'm up for it.
Are you coming on to me, Samuel?
I would never dare.
I'm a married man,
never.
Sir.
Well, that has never stopped anyone. Right. Yeah, this is a comment about what we were probably just talking about, trying to be always perfect and always try to. It's difficult to get rid of it, but with time, I think it does work.
That's the
here. This is the
question.
One. Yeah. This was I think this was for a while quite trendy to do that. So yeah, I actually it's as you can see it's fading away. I actually had it redone twice already, but it just keeps going away because in the kitchen you work with quite aggressive cleaning material. So I think that is probably the reason why it's slowly
maybe you should wear gloves.
going away. I'm not sure. I know, but it takes time to go over there, put on the glove. And the thing
mean,
is that I
to
have
be
a
fair,
bucket,
though,
right? And then I put on the glove and I go like this, and the water goes into the glove then. So what's the point? I might as well just,
but you got to think like, and this is just coming from someone who's worked with harsh chemicals and from a management perspective. I have, right? If you got to think of what that's doing to a tattoo, imagine what's happening to your actual skin.
Yeah, I know.
If it's
I've
that
got very,
harsh,
very unsexy skin. It's very rough. I mean, I could sand wood with it. But it's like manly hands. So that's the
oh
only
yeah,
manly
I
thing about me,
used to have
really.
manly hands. Now they're all
Yeah,
soft.
all soft and wonderful and taken care of. So here's another question. Samuel, do you think you would have gotten into restaurant field if you weren't in the Sea Org? This is an interesting question because having talked about my need for speed, my need for perfection and all of that, while I was in my apprenticeship and I was in culinary school, I was constantly told, "Oh, you're so passionate. You're such a passionate cook. You're so you really, really care," and so on and so forth. And I just thought to myself, okay, what I'm doing, how I'm feeling, this is passion, apparently, And it took me some time to realize, no, it isn't passion. It is just the need to do it correctly. I mean, to me, it's almost like a sign of insanity. If you have a job, whatever it is, and you purposely don't do it as well as you could do it. Like, why wouldn't you do it as well as you could do it? It doesn't make sense to my brain. It doesn't make any sense to do that. So naturally, somebody else could do it better. And what I do now, I will be able to do better in a few years, I'm sure, with the experience. But right now, with the time and the materials that I have, I'll do the best that I can. And later on, I realized that it isn't that. Yes, I do definitely have now a sort of passion for cooking. I wouldn't call it my passion, but I do like I like doing it. I find it very interesting, fascinating, and so on and so forth. But no, I would never have gotten into that. I'm sure I would never, because when I was a child, I actually wanted to go and study. I wanted to study history and literature. That was the field I was really interested in. Well, originally I wanted to become a musician, and my mother. I was 3 or 4 years old when I listened to Vivaldi's Four Seasons for the first time, and I was so like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is like hard rock of the 17th century. It's like hard rock 17th century version, and I told my mother I wanted to be a musician. She said no, and I didn't question it any further. And then later on, when I was 6 or 7, I asked her again. I wanted to learn music. I wanted to learn the violin, and then she told me no. And then I asked her why, and then she basically told me, well, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of money. And we're going to spend so much money on you. And then maybe when you're 15 years old, you decide, well, actually, you don't want to pursue this professionally. You want to do something else. And then all of the money would have been wasted. So that's basically what she said. And, and then in the end, I didn't do that. And then I wanted to study. I could see myself in Tweed, as a professor somewhere. So yeah, and then I ended up in the SEOC. I ended up in the Karedok where I was doing the baking. And then after that, I was in the SEOC cooking for everyone. I came back to Switzerland, not having graduated from school, only have experience in kitchen, but I have no resume. I have nothing to show what I did for the last 7 years, which was the time when I was in England. And so to me, it was almost like the natural way is going into the kitchen because, like I had no money. I had nothing. I couldn't go and just study. Now I'm aware in Switzerland, I could have actually gotten help with that. Like if I would have told about my story, my situation, what would have happened, the state would have helped me. I talked to somebody who works for the state and he said, absolutely no problem. There would not have been a problem. But of course, I was still very much a Scientologist. And it took me years to actually, like I would never have told anyone, I grew up in this cult and this is what happened to me. I'm the victim here. So please help me. Later on, I found out I could have done that. And there is a little bit of regret of that. However, these days, there are many universities and schools you can do online. So there have been a few things I've been looking at to do that online. Obviously, it will take longer to do that and so on and so forth. But, I might still do that in the future.
Cool. Yeah, it's something I'm looking at doing as well. And hopefully that'll be started fairly soon. But
yeah.
Details to follow.
Details to follow. Right. I think this was a rather interesting chat. Thank you very much for being here, Jeff.
I agree.
Would you like to say anything else before we'll end this chat? Apart, of course, thank you very much for everyone for watching. For is that Raz? Raz complaining.
That's
He wants
Raz.
food. He wants
The
attention.
windows are being cleaned right now, and so there's someone
okay.
up on the roof, and Raz
Yeah.
is not happy about that. He's
not having
literally right there, and he's freaking out. So
okay.
yes, I would just like to say thank you very much. I honestly have been very honored to have you as a friend, and to have been the first person to interview you, and now the first person for you to interview. It really does mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
The friendships that have been gained through this destructive cult, the aftermath of it has been has almost been worth it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't give up the damage and so forth, but it really is amazing to have people in my life now that just truly just support me and want me to do well, and it really does mean a lot to me. So I want to say thank you to that to you guys in the chat, and of course thank you to you, Samuel.
Yeah, and just to round it all off, why don't we play our last clip again, just for everyone, just to cheer everyone up again.
You may not have audio unless you did it correctly. We can try.
I'll try it out.
Do you want to try it? See if you got some audio.
This is a screen that you shared with me.
Not anymore.
Okay. Well, that's
well, I will share my screen with you. I have it loaded up.
All right.
And we will get that going. There it is for you, bud.
All right. So let's just rewind. So thank you very much for everyone for being here. Thank you, Jeff, for having been here. I'll cut it off afterwards, It's been most marvelous. And let's send everybody off with some cheerful protesting.
They poured water on me.
They assault people every day.
They made me wet.
Oh, I'm not gonna say it.
Did you tell them what you did? I'm not gonna tell them like that.
Stop carrying concealed boobs. Apparently, it's boob tech.
They poured water on